Okay, so it's been a while since I have got around to this trailer project. So some plans have changed and been busy with the house and stuff, so this hasn't been a big priority, but I want to try and get it done. So, basically, originally I was wanting to do a nice metal deck across it and have this thing like awesome, but after pricing metal deck, I could almost buy a new trailer for like a couple hundred more. So the whole idea here was to keep this thing cheap and pretty much out of scrap was the idea. So I found a guy that was tearing down a mobile home, and he had all these I-beams, and he's like, I'll let you have all of them for $100. So I went and bought these guys. There's 4 of them, and they are each 30 foot long, so it's quite a bit. I probably just need 1 or 2 of them, but he had them, so I got them. I just set them in the weeds here so they'd be out of the way. But anyways, so I'm going to use that as cross members on the trailer and get rid of that other stuff. And then we're going to take the sawmill and cut out some nice white oak boards and just put boards on it. And then when they rot in 10 years, then we'll replace them. So that's the plan. Hook the truck up to this and pull it up here. And there's a more level spot to work on it. So we'll get it up there, and then like I said, we are going to cut these little winky dink cross members out. This square tubing I'm going to cut out. I'm going to use that for something else since I got that I-beam. I'm pretty sure it's the same identical I-beam that's on here, hopefully. Anyways, but the goal is basically just run a piece of that where every cross member is, and that should make that pretty strong. And then I'll cut a little piece where this sticks off here to get my full 8-foot width, and I'll extend it with each cross member, and that should be pretty sweet. Hey, check out this turtle. This little guy's pretty cool. Look at him. What are you doing, big guy? I wonder if we should move him. I'll just keep an eye on him. I just worry about him getting ran over because we drive a lot through here. Okay, so I'm going to cut all these cross members out, except I haven't decided if I'm going to leave this one or not, because the way I have it set up is they're going to run pretty much with all the others except that one. So I might leave it, or I guess I could leave it. I haven't really decided that. And then I feel like I should probably put something in here to brace this tongue and tie it into this main beam right here. So something like that should make it. I want it built pretty strong, but again, it's only got 2 3,500-pound axles, so that's 7,000 capacity minus the weight of the trailer, so you're looking at like 5,000-6,000 pounds on the trailer. So of course I'm sure it'll get overloaded a time or two, but anyways, so I'm gonna get to cutting these out. I would time lapse it, but the battery's about dead, so I'm gonna put you guys on charge and then we'll pick back up. Check it out. So I cut all the old ones out and I got these guys spaced out. This is that mobile home I-beam, and I thought it was the same as this, but this is an 8-inch I-beam and these are 10, so they stick down, but that's not a big deal. But I got all these cut, and I was throwing around the idea of whether to space them 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, like what to space them. So like up here is 3 foot, and then it gets a little less and a little less, and then these are pretty close together because I wanted them solid right here where the axle mounts, because that's a main twist point, so I wanted that to be pretty solid. And then plus where that's 3 foot here, you don't really put the real heavy weight on the front. It usually goes around your axles, so that should be just fine. So I'm liking it. This was just one of them. I cut all these out of one piece, so that was nice. And had these tabs on here. Something to do with the home, I guess. I left them on there. I might use them to bolt the boards on, or if not, I'll just cut them off. But I figured I'd leave them for now. So then I'm gonna add one more right at that mark. That'll brace up that. And then these right here, where I weld this on, I'm gonna put a plate in on this web here on each side, so that'll make that way stronger. So it should be pretty sweet. I'm liking it so far. So we'll come back tomorrow and hopefully get that last one knocked down, and if I can, get all these side pieces cut. We're back today. So I need to run down here and drag another one of these I-beams up. So you might be wondering what I'm dragging it with. We're gonna use the old four-wheeler. So now I gotta cut one cross member 68 out of this guy, and then I need a bunch more pieces that'll extend out to match this one, and they're all 13.5. So we need 6 on each side, so then I'll get 12 of them, and we should be pretty good. See, I cut them out so that they were notched in the bottom, and then I cut the top out so that'll be like that. But I got all of them sitting here except that one on each side. The one that goes in between the wheels, I got to cut that bottom notch on out. I forgot, because it'll get welded to that spring hanger there. But I think this will look pretty good. So I'm gonna work on getting all this tacked on here and making sure everything's good, and then we'll start melting her together. So it's looking pretty sweet. Everything is now tacked on. Some of these, like that one lined up pretty good with that, but that one didn't. Here and there, and then I had to move this one because of the tires and stuff, but it'll be pretty good. This thing's gonna be pretty stout, so that'll be sweet. So I'm gonna get to welding. Okay, so I got this. What this is the original back bumper off the camper. So I'm pretty much gonna mount it like this to have it as a front bar thing, you know, like they have on trailers. So should be pretty cool. It's not going to be this tall, obviously. I'm probably gonna cut it right above where that piece of metal is welded on each side. And then that'll shrink it down. It should look pretty good, other than at some point I think the excavator got into that. But that's nothing we can't fix. So I might get this going here. So I got a lot of this welded. You can see down through everything that was easy to get. I got some gaps in between them. Yeah, anyways, I will add a little bit of metal in there so I don't have to fill it all in with weld, but it's coming together. So I got to work on this a little bit this evening, and I got these side rails I was talking about on. Hey, future me here. So apparently I was editing this video and I didn't realize I forgot to mention where I got this metal from, and I actually cut it out of the web of one of these I-beams. I cut the web out and then split it in half so I could get the metal down through here, and then the boards will line up even with it. So that's where that came from. And then that one over there. So then I laid a board up here so this would stick, so I could cut that even with the board. So this one's pretty straight. It's got a little bow right there I'll pull out, but the other side kind of looks like a spaghetti noodle. But anyways, that's not important. So also got my new jack put on, so that was nice. At least now I hate how trailer companies put them stupid jacks in there that just crank down so far. Like, every trailer should have a drop leg on it like that, to where you don't have to go find a block of wood every time you want to unhook your trailer. Plus this one's got a pretty high weight rating. Where's it at here? I think this thing's what, 7,000 pounds? Yeah, 7,000 lift, 8,000 support, so that's pretty good. It'll never have anywhere close to that amount of tongue weight on it, but it's nice. If it's fully loaded, you can unhook it from the trailer. No issues. So anyways, I don't know if I recorded putting this bar on. I think that's where I left off. I'll try and get some better time lapses tomorrow, hopefully. Well, since everything is tacked and pretty much where I want it now, I just spend most of the day welding on it. So I'm gonna start with this side over here. Basically get all these welded solid, and then just kind of work my way that way. Get it all taken care of there, so should be pretty sweet. Check it out. So I found this old frying pan, and you might be wondering what an old frying pan has anything to do with what I'm doing here, but it does. Because when you're stick welding out here in the field, you don't want to throw your welding studs on the ground, because then they wind up in a tire. So I usually put them in an old welding rod box, but the problem with that is it's a plastic box, so it's hot and it'll melt through. So it's nice, for example, whenever I'm done welding, I can just sling it in there, and then by the time it cools down, then I can just dump them all in this box and then get rid of them. So there's your pro tip. Quite a bit done today. So I guess first thing, all them I-beams that were sticking down, drew line and cut all them off at an angle down, so they're not sticking down anymore. So that looks pretty good. And pretty much been just spending the day welding on absolutely everything around here. So, and again, some of these welds, turned out absolutely beautiful. Some of them turned out like that. Some of them are real pretty. Then other ones, like this one, it's got a little bit of porosity in it. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll serve its purpose. So anyways, and then also this bar up here, or headache rack, I guess you could call it. I cut these at 45 here because this was bent, and I was going to bend that back up, but I was like, I think it looks better at a 45 like that it did on each side. So I think that looks better. But anyways, you can see I need to pull that bend out of that metal going down the side. It's bent in where I welded it there. And then the other side's real crooked, or it was. Yeah, it's about like a spaghetti noodle down through there. That ain't no big deal. So, anyways, what I was getting at is now I'm at the point where something exciting is going on. So, I'm gonna move this, basically turn it long ways and then tip it up on its side or flip it upside down so I can weld everything on the bottom there, because, I mean, I could lay under there, roll around in the dirt, weld overhead and eat up with sparks. But, you know, it's so much easier just turn it upside down. So, I also put this piece of I-beam in here for a tongue brace, and that, it's kind of hard to show you here, but whenever you would wiggle this frame here, it don't move now, but it had just a slight little wiggle right around the tongue, and I put that in, and this thing is solid. Then I think I showed you guys the jack. So before I flip it over, I'm gonna take this handle off, just so hopefully it don't get ripped off. So I'm gonna turn it and we'll see if we can get this guy flipped over, and then I'll get everything underneath welded, and then should be getting, well, I would say close to paint, but I need to build a set of ramps for it. So that'll be the only metal I gotta buy is for the ramps. So that'll be all right. Not so sure how safe this is to be under, but it's on its side. I'm gonna find something to brace it up a little bit. That way I can safely work on it. So I put this brace under these wheels here. So you might be wondering if it's safe to be under this. You can wiggle it. You can see it's not gonna fall. So this is safe to stand here. Everything welded underneath where it was easy to get when it was on its side there. So it's coming along. Now what I'm going to do is make some stake pockets to go on each one of them cross members down through here. So, and what I'm going to use for that is a piece of this here. It came off of the I-beam. This is what the axles were mounted to. There's just this round tubing, so I'm basically just going to cut it like this and then weld it on there so you got a place to hook your straps and stuff. So I believe that'll work pretty good there. So I got these stake pockets cut, and I got this one set up where I want it. Then I got one, so I'll put one at each of these, because that'll be the strongest point. Because if you put them like in the middle of this piece of metal here, that's not going to have the strength it'll have as it's tying into a cross member. That's what I'm getting at. So I got them all cut for each side. I'll clean up the area where I'm going to be welding with a wired brush real quick, and then get all these babies welded on here. So definitely, if you're doing something like this, get a clamp or even a big pair of vice grips, anything like this to hold it on here. It's so much easier to have it stay put instead of like trying to hold it and tack it, and that's a pain. Been there, done that. Just like that, we got all the stake pockets welded on, so that's nice. Have plenty of tie downs on the side here. So now what I want to do is I got these two pieces cut, and they're gonna go all right in something like that, then one the same way, and then I'm gonna put a hitch receiver right here, because at some point I want to get a winch mounted to a hitch receiver, so if I have to winch something on the trailer, I just put it in, because some people permanently mount them, but it's so much more convenient to have one on a hitch receiver, because then you can put it in the back of your pickup truck, or really, it's just so universal. It's nice. So that's the plan, is to weld the hitch receiver right up to this guy, then put these two supports in, and then weld all that in, so that'll be good. So now I gotta go find a hitch receiver. So I have this old Chevy Blazer sitting down here, and guess what we got? A nice, easily accessible hitch receiver. So I'm gonna pull this guy up here and chop that guy off, and okay, so after I got about up here, I realized the emergency brake was on, but it didn't matter. Anyways, this is an old Blazer. I drove it for about a month, then it blew up, so that figures. It's one of the old vehicles I had. Need to get rid of it, but just one of them things. Still kind of sitting here, but anyways, maybe one day I should do a video talking about all the vehicles I've had. Might, maybe. Anyways, the point of this is to cut this hitch receiver off, so it's gonna get noisy, and I'm gonna see if I can't chop her off. hope I got that on camera. I started cutting that guy, and then I seen things flying out. I was like, what in the world? And I realized there was a big bee's nest in there, so I was like, I gotta get it off, and pushed it back over the hill. So we're good now. Okay guys, so this video here is getting pretty long, and it's starting to rain. So basically the only thing I have left that I want to do is put that hitch receiver in here. I talked about it yesterday, and that's pretty much it. Then it's going to be build a set of ramps and paint. So this video is pretty long. I'm gonna go ahead and end it here, and then the next video hopefully will be the last part where we get the ramps built, get a deck on it. Well, get the ramps built, paint it, then put the deck on it. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good day.